All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations unto the Akim and her pushing this gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is the brother Quanah Wath from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson to the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. And I came across this article on thepeoplesvoice.tv. It says BlackRock's Larry Fink seizes WEF throne as the Great Reset, also known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, enters enforcement phase, man. Now I want to ultimately grab that word enforce, which is the root word of enforcement, and it says to drive by physical force, This is on the online etymology. To drive by physical force, to try, to attempt, to strive, to fortify. It says exert, It says late 14th century as exert force, compel, make stronger, reinforce, strengthen an argument, grow stronger, become violent, It says strengthen, reinforce, use force on, or offer force to, oppress, violate. It says grape, to make, put in, compel obedience to. And this is the phase in which we are entering in. And before I get into that article, I do want to grab this video that the elder Mike Ka'ala from the LA camp, GMS LA camp, ultimately posted, showing you that Esau Edom, Trump and his administration, is pushing harder, But without further ado, I'm just gonna play a few minutes of this video, and then we'll hop in the Argo, grab some precepts,
We have major breaking news right now. More than 1,700 members of the National Guard are preparing to mobilize to go to 19 states across the United States of America. According to Fox News' latest reporting, they will be mobilized to help with deportations and to fight crime.
So tonight, President Trump is doing something no president in American history has ever done before. He is personally joining the National Guard troops and police officers on patrol through the streets of Washington, D.C. We're talking about armored vehicles, armed military personnel, and the commander-in-chief leading from the absolute front lines. But here's what makes this even...
The National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police, and we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has authorized the nearly 2,000 National Guard troops patrolling the streets of D.C. that they can now carry weapons. And we're also learning more numbers about the arrests that were made overnight. So far, 719 arrests have been made. 300 of those are alleged illegal immigrants. This is all from numbers we're getting from the White House. The president speaking Friday, not providing a timeline on how long these National Guard troops will stay in our nation's capital.
We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you.
Y'all see what's going on? Century and Western going west. They setting up the checkpoint right here. Don't get y'all ass stuck.
Guys, I'm on the ground right here in MacArthur Park.
Where I come from to get
ready to see troops and law enforcement. I mean, there is a heavy presence here. these vehicles here are United States Army.
And that's where I want to stop it, man. You know, as you see right there, man, you got Esau moving in, right? Moving in to do just that, right? To enforce this NWO. You know? Otherwise, what is the point, right, of bringing in, you know, the military, right? Because the National Guard are a part of the military, right? He is saying, you know, bringing in the regular military. The National Guard is part of the regular military. You know, so he's already bringing in, you know, military members and having them basically, you know, help with, you know, regular duties of officers, man, right? Which is ultimately a sign, right, that martial law, you know, is being implemented, which soon is ultimately going to be vocalized, you know, and that full-fledged enforcement is ultimately going to take place, man, you know. You know, this is what they're doing, right? They're ultimately getting, you know, the military set up in different places, saying, hey, you know, we're fighting against, you know, we're helping to fight against the crime, helping to make, you know, America great again, which is ultimately, you know, make America white again. You know, there's many videos that have come out. When has America ultimately been great, right, for any of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man? Never. Right? It's never been great. So really, you ultimately saying, you know, make America great again is ultimately make America white again. You know, and this is what we're seeing. You know, Esau basically, you know, getting ready, right, to come down, having great wrath, right? That full-fledged enforcement. You know, so let's get back to this article real quick. And I don't really want to read the whole article. I want to focus, you know, on the last half of this article, you know, which is a heavy piece, right? It says, BlackRock chief Larry Fink has been elevated to the top of the World Economic Forum, the world's most powerful globalist organization, a movement that cements the union of Wall Street's financial empire with Davos policy machine. It says, and signals a new phase in the march toward digital IDs, central bank digital currencies, and globalist rule over nations. And see, this is what it's all about, right? Establishing, you know, this NWO, this new world order, right? Where there's a one world currency, right? A one world religion, right? A one world government, you know, which is, there's nothing new under the sun, right? There's absolutely, right. And as we, you know, we read in the scriptures, right, Ecclesiastes 1:9, again, there's nothing new under the sun. These nations, right, these heathens, right, have ultimately been trying to set up an NWO, if you will, right, many times throughout history, man, right, notated in the scriptures, right, the Tower of Babel, right, Daniel, the 3rd chapter, Nebuchadnezzar, right, ultimately setting up that image and wanting everybody to bow down to that image, right, otherwise they would be what? They would be killed, you know. Matter of fact, let's grab that real quick, right? This is Daniel's 3:1. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 80 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. That's right. You know, and that image today, right, will be that philosophy, right, that has been pushed into earth by America, right, through the beast, being NATO and the EU. You know, that is that image, right, that they're ultimately trying to get everybody to, follow and to bow down to, right, today. You know, modern day Babylon is America, right? Verse 2, it says, then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up, right? It says, and then we're going to jump down. It says, then an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace, meaning you'll be put to death, right? Which is literally according to Revelations, the 13th chapter, right? The 15th verse, right? Let's go ahead and jump to that real quick, man. Revelations 13 and verse 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Again, going back to that image, right? That image is not, right? Like it was back in, the ancient times in Daniel's 3rd chapter, right? Where it was an actual image of gold. But this is going into what? That philosophy, right? That lifestyle that's being pushed by America, aka Babylon the Great, right? Via the beast, right? NATO and the EU onto all these different nations across the whole world, right? It says that the image of the beast shall both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? So this is something that in this prophecy, right? This prophecy is ultimately, what's taking place now, right? We're in the time of Revelations, the 13th chapter, right? Being fulfilled, So these are the times that we're in, and we're going to get into this article. It literally touches on that, right? So let's drop down. I don't want to read too much of this article. I just want to really focus on the main points, the main point being, the last half of this article, right? It says what comes next, right? Surveillance and control. Fink has been the leading evangelist for ESG mandates, right? Environmental, social, and governance, right? It says an unelected system that functions like corporate social credit, but that's only the beginning. It says with his grip on the WEF, the following are expected to accelerate, and everything's already been accelerating, man. Right prior to him coming in and being officially, announced as the new, head chair of the WEF, things since Trump came into office, everything's been speeding up drastically, right? Because Revelation 12 and 12, they know they have but a short time, It says digital IDs and CBDCs, giving government and corporations the power to track, monitor, and cut off individuals from the economy at will, right? That's prophecy, right? Going back, Revelations 13 and verse 16, it says, and he causeth all, right? Mean to make, to require, right? Going back to the whole point, right? Of the title of the lesson, right? We are in that enforcement age, or that enforcement phase, Hence, again, going back to the video, right? Trump setting up the military, right? Which is ultimately leading to the establishment of martial law, where they're going to force everybody, to be a part of this NWO, to be a part of this system that they're setting up, this digital system via RFID micro CHIP, right? It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a MARK in their right hand or in their foreheads. And then when you go to that word mark, right, that MARK, right, it goes back to the Greek word charagma, which goes what? Something that's inserted, right? Which the RFID micro CHIP, the rice grain, the brain CHIP, is the MOTB, the mark of the beast, man. And we're seeing that system for that MARK being set up across, all sectors, from healthcare to construction to regular retail, all these different, systems, right? Ultimately being set up, right? It says, which is really one system, right? That digital system, right? It says that no man might buy or sell save he that had the MARK or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You're not going to be able to participate in society. And this is what they're going, this is where it's leading to, right? As it says right here, digital IDs and CBDCs, giving governments and corporations the power to track, monitor, and cut off individuals from the economy at will. So, and he goes in, he's all going to be able, okay, this person, believes this. Well, that doesn't align with, our one world religion. So we're going to cut them off. They're not going to be able to buy. They're not going to be able to sell. They're ultimately going to starve. They're going to die because they can't get food, can't get water, or because again, Esau wants to be able to even read your mind, or you're thinking this. Oh, well, guess what? That's not how we want you to think. So now we're going to just eliminate you from being able to participate in society. And Klaus Schwab said it, man. You will have nothing and be happy, because they want to be able to control everything about you, man. Right? It says ESG tyranny, enforcing global compliance where businesses, banks, and even nations are punished if they refuse to play by BlackRock's rules. And it's not just BlackRock, right? BlackRock is ultimately, a company, right, of one of the lower elites, if you will, right? This Fink guy, he's ultimately, you say a lower elite, right? The actual elite, right? The top elite, right, are not spoken of, right? The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, right? The DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, right? You don't hear about those guys, man, right? Who are the ones who actually give out the marching orders, right? The Finks and Gates and Bezos and whatnot, right? These guys ultimately, you know, even the Trumps, right? They ultimately receive marching orders from these upper elites, man. You know? So it's not their rules, it's the elites' rules, man. You know? And again, right, this is all according to prophecy as we read, right? It says crypto capture. BlackRock already manages $95 billion in Bitcoin, Ethereum ETFs under Fink. Decentralized finance becomes nothing more than a bait and switch, another tool of surveillance and control. It says for years, Klaus Schwab sold the Great Reset as a utopian vision. But marketing time is over. Now comes enforcement, right? We're in the time where they're going to enforce all this, man, right? And force the masses to get along, you know, to go along with this system, man, right? Revelations 12:12, right? It says by merging BlackRock's financial empire with the WEF's policy machine, global elites are constructing a system where ownership, money, identity, and freedom itself are consolidated under their control, you know? And again, it's ultimately, you know, getting everybody to receive an RFID micro C-hip, man. You know? That's the ultimate goal. That's the plan. You know, and we've been telling y'all for years that this is what's happening, you know? That this is where society is heading. You know, and you got a lot of these false leaders, man, that are ultimately telling you people that the MOTB is anything other than what it actually is. You know? Scriptures say in Habakkuk the 2nd chapter that the end it shall speak and not lie. Right? And it's speaking, man. It's speaking loud and clear that the MOTB is the RFID micro C-hip. You know, the little rice grain, the brain C-hip. You know? It's irrefutable, right? It says this is no longer a warning. It is happening. The Great Reset has entered its end game, and Larry Fink is the man chosen to make it real, you know? And really, it's not just him, right? We understand that Trump, you know, is, you know, a puppet of the elite as well, and he's been chosen, right, to push this agenda as well, you know? So it's not just Larry Fink. It's many different players right across the globe, right, that are playing into this, man. You know, all these other nations are playing into it as well, right? The elite basically, you know, are the ones that are ultimately getting everything and pushing out these marching orders for everything to be moving the way it's moving, man. You know, but again, we're in these times, you know, heavily, man. The enforcement age or the enforcement phase is here, you know, and Esau is going to come down having great wrath. Let's go ahead and grab that. Revelations 12:12. It says, therefore ye rejoice, it's like it, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right? It's a short time. Esau ain't got too much longer, man. You know, because the prophets, you know, the Yahweh Shem El Shai set up the prophets, right? To come out here and to do what? Right, to prophesy and to warn of, you know, war, evil, and pestilence, as we read in Jeremiah 12:12, or it's like Jeremiah 28:8. You know, it's like you, man, have Revelations 12:12 on the brain, but yeah, as it says in Jeremiah 28:8, the Lord set up prophets to war of these different things, man, and beginning with our elder apostles, right, and even their elders, you know. Going back to Elder Abba Bivens, you know, King Masha, Elder High Priest Ariel, Elder High Priest Yaquab, to our elder apostles, down to, you know, the elder bishops, elders, my Akim, such as myself, been warning y'all for years, man. You know, that this is the time that we are in, right? We're in the time where, hey, man, all hell is about to break loose. Martial law, right, is about to be, you know, fully implemented, you know, and Jacob's trouble is about to, you know, come to fruition, man. You know, because again, these are the times that we're in. What the hell? I ain't click on that shit. You know, so this is the time to ultimately, you know, repent. You know, and return to Yahweh Shem El Shai, man. You don't want to ultimately, you know, you don't want to wait until the last minute, man. You know, this is the time to repent. This is the time to, you know, to ultimately turn away from wickedness, right? And to turn to Yahweh Shem El Shai before that day comes, man. You know? Let's grab this. I'm gonna get a few more precepts, man. This is or a couple more precepts. Second Esdras. So Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 7. It says, "Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord," man. You know, it says, "And put not off from day to day." So don't be sitting here saying, "I get it tomorrow," or "I'll do it later tonight," or this and the third. Hey, well, you know, the way Esau's moving right now, man. You know, hey, you can have one of these, you know, one of these, you know, ICE agents or whatnot, right? Come and, you know, kick open that door, man, and come get your ass, man. You know? And the Lord ain't playing, right? It says, "For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance," man. Right? So right when you least expect it, like right when you think, you know, you you good, you straight, and the Lord gonna have one of the, you know, come get your ass, man. Have one of these damn devils come in and get your ass. You know, and now you're fucking done. You know? Now Esau done shot you up, put about 100 pounds of fucking rounds into you, you know, because you didn't want to get this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man, right? But you want to continue to follow in the ways of the heathen, which is ultimately what the Lord, you know, doesn't want us to do. You know, what is it saying? You know, because you chose in that which I delighted not, right? You mean you wanted to follow in the ways of the heathens, you want to do wicked shit. Okay, well, the Lord gonna judge you, man. You know, unless you repent and turn back to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man, right? This is Ecclesiastes 12:1. It says, "Remember thou thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them," right, man? Return to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man, before it's too late. You know, return to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua before it's too late, man. You ain't got too much time. We ain't got too much time, man. Before Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua ultimately allows for this damn devil, right, to unleash that wrath, man, right? And Jacob's trouble ultimately pops off, you know? But that's all I got, man. Lord will is edifying. Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, B'Shem HaKadosh. Till next time, say shalom.